So, Matt, one of the things you've done over the past few years is to begun to transition into developing a forensic sub-practice. What drew you to that, and how's your experience been with that? When did you first start doing forensic work?
So I'd say I started my initial kind of forays were about after about 10 years.
Hmm.
I got 10 years of practice under my belt and then had the opportunity to start kind of tiptoeing in and learning about it. And it had always attracted me because the part of my OT training, I did a lot of vocational rehab preparation as well. That was integrated into our training track at WashU. So the vocational aspect of things was always an interest to me. And we got a lot of preparation in vocational rehabilitation approaches, techniques, tools at our OT program at WashU, actually, because it was taught by, and organized by a CRC, who's you. um, and so I had the ability to get familiar with that, but I also saw uh, some of the relative shortcomings of a purely vocational rehabilitation approach to people, because the voc rehab individual may be able to determine the interests of a person vocationally and some limited uh, aptitude testing. And then, well, it can be an expert in labor market analysis and determining if there is a place for a person in the local economy and X, Y, or Z job role. But the aptitude is very different than the capability or capacity. And that's where OT really picks up the ball and runs with it, because we not only can determine what the client should be able to do, but then we can actually facilitate testing and evaluation and testimony, if necessary, about what they actually are able to do. And that's a very complicated equation to be able to solve. And it makes sense that you need a doctoral level preparation in specifically some of these areas to be able to do that.
Mhm. How many cases have you had thus far in forensics?
I'd say I'm at about 30 that are in various these. It's interesting because these play out over years. And that took a lot to get used to, coming from, traditional practice where we're talking about, well, you got to get your notes done by the end of the day, to a case that I got a call yesterday about a case about a gentleman I evaluated 3 years ago. And so the scope in terms of years is broader and takes a little bit of getting used to.
In terms
Um,
of remuneration, is what's the comparison for you?
you make a lot more money, but you earn that money as well. So you might hear an hourly rate of what you charge, but the likelihood that that actually represents, especially early on in your career doing this work, the likelihood that actually represents a true hour's worth of work is very, very low. So you need to be prepared that you're going to work very, very hard, um, and won't necessarily see a significant financial return. But financially, in terms of compensation, it can be very lucrative. But like I said, that comes with a cost, because not only all of the background work leading up to when you start to do this type of work, but all of the background work you have to do on the client to produce the work product, the evaluation report, but then to be deposed and eventually testify in court, um, and have to take on all comers and be prepared for any question about anything that has to do with the case or the measurement tools you're using or your impressions or what have you.
One of the things I think I probably warned you about when you were expressing an interest would be that you'd be spending 3 to 5 times as many hours that are non-billable just in doing the prep work of thinking through the extraneous reading and researching that you need to do. And that's just an investment in a career expansion that you need to be comfortable making.
Absolutely. The way I explain what the evaluation and reporting and deposition and defense process in terms of defending your own opinions. It's like a master's thesis, I say, and I don't want that to scare people off, but I also feel like I need to be honest about that, because that is the level of execution that you need to be prepared to devote yourself to preparing and providing for the clients. So as it is, I do about 2 master's theses a month. That's about what I equate it to.
Yeah. Well, you're doing good work in the field, and I'm glad that you're maintaining this strong clinical program.
It gives you legs when you're talking to, attorneys, and if you're in a deposition or trial situation, because you literally, like, I will literally go from a classroom situation where I'm teaching, and I might end up going to a courtroom situation where I'm being deposed on the same day. And then the next 3 days, I've got back-to-back clients. And so I not only do I talk the talk, and there's a lot of good people that can talk the talk, but I actually walk it too. I'm still in the grind, and I'm still developing, I'm developing those skills and developing those chops. And that, at the end of the day, that comes through actually doing things to help people like that every day. So it adds a ecological validity, if you will, to your efforts in this area. That's not to say you can't make a very successful and lucrative and satisfying career just doing forensic work. We have some colleagues that primarily just focus on forensics, but that's also, those people have 30 years of clinical work behind them to stand on. So I think it is important you've got some clinical chops that you can rely on, because when it comes down to it, it is your clinical opinion based on the objective and subjective measurement you have done with that client. And so you've got to have a clinical basis to base that opinion on. Yeah, if I can share one other thing, I think a key aspect of this, specifically the forensic work, is having a mentor. Somebody that knows the ropes, that's done it, because there's no coursework you can take to really prepare for this type of work. It's experiential learning. It's you develop wisdom over time doing it, and it sure helps if you have somebody who's willing to share their wisdom with you, such as you've done with me very generously over the years, Len, to help you get started on this, because it's a whole different world with a whole different set of rules and language implications and everything else. It's a weird critter sometimes, and it helps if you have somebody that really knows it and is willing to invest in you and kind of pay back maybe mentorship that you received in your early part or mid part of your career.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're all standing on the shoulders of people who've gone before. I've shared with you the names of Brian Camp, Carolyn Bash, Ed Fleischman, folks like that have mentored me. And we keep moving forward. So, and I know you're mentoring folks now. Some of the people that you've introduced me to, I'm very impressed with.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of fun, because some of the folks that I mentor, I've introduced to you, and they call you their grand mentor, which is very, very appropriate.